business that we actually do on a daily basis through email. Individual computers, mobile devices, cameras with their photos, they're stored everywhere. And the problem with that is some of these documents are very critical to your company. And if you get into a bind where you actually have to get to a particular document, you can't find it, that becomes a real problem and could be legal. So our answer to that is Sage Paperless Construction. It's an enterprise content management system that manages all of the documents that you have in your everyday business life and stores them securely in the system and helps you get a handle on everything that's being passed around. So first of all, what can this system do? Capturing documents. Any type of document from any location can be captured and put into the system. We've got multiple ways from scanning to drag and drop to automatic file imports, folder watches, different ways to actually capture your documents throughout your company. Once you capture them, you actually index and store them in the system. We have many predefined document types, but you can also have your own user-definable document types and indexes, and they're all securely stored on any network drive on your system or other network device. Retrieving documents. Documents can retrieve via any combination of index fields, keywords, or you can actually get to them from the paperclip within your Sage 300 CRE or Sage 100 contractor accounting program. Once you've retrieved it, distributing them, we have two particular electronic workflows that I'm going to show you, but you can also email them, post them out to the web, or if you need paper again, we're trying to be paperless, but you can actually print your documents out. So Sage Paperless manages document life cycles, reduces operating costs, minimizes your risk, and of course it'll improve your customer service by allowing you to get to your documents more quickly and get your hands on it without having to look for them all day long. So our first workflow, it's our accounts payable and invoice routing and approval system. This is our most popular workflow that usually probably about 90% of our customers come to us looking for an answer to routing their biggest paperwork nightmare, which is keeping track of the entire purchasing system, from purchase order or subcontract to the receiving tickets or pay apps, on through the invoices, and finally through their final checks that pay for these purchases. So our AP flow system increases accounts payable efficiency and reduces your overhead costs, and we'll show you how all of this works in just a minute. You get instant access to your accounts payable information and all of your documents. And then finally, what you're going to achieve is you're going to get a reduction in handling or courier costs if you're FedExing these things around, and you're going to eliminate all your paper storage costs. So no more file cabinets, no more storage space in the warehouse in the back with all your boxes. It's all held right here electronically within the system. Now, secondly, we have a document routing system that we call DocRoute. That allows you to manually or automatically route documents to users or groups, basically for information sharing, collaboration, or for approval. You can use this system to route contracts, purchase orders, expense reports, timesheets, HR documents, etc., all for review or approval. So let's go ahead and get into the system. I'm going to actually flip out of here real quickly, and I'll go through the different features of the system. And in the end, as we said, we could have question and answers so that I can answer your particular questions. Okay, so I'm going to flip over here. So what you see on the screen now is the actual desktop of Sage Paperless Construction. So, the first thing we talked about was capturing documents. Of course, if I have a scanner, I can scan things directly into the system. We can have imports. We can have folder watches to automatically watch for documents out on your network and automatically pull them in. But probably the most widely used and the easiest way of actually getting documents into the system is simply, if you already have a PDF that's in an email or you actually have it on your computer, it's simply to drag and drop it. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to actually take a subcontract that I have. I'm going to drag it over to the desktop. And as I drag it over, you see, I've got some options, and I've got 6 different areas that I can actually drop this particular document into the system. So I can simply open the file. I can put it into a batch, and we use batches to gather multiple documents together to all be worked on at one time. I can index the file directly. I can route the file if I have doc route. I can put it into someone's queue. We could have queues, or they're actually like inboxes for people to actually share documents among themselves for someone else to do work on. And finally, if it's a big document that has multiple pages, but it's actually multiple documents, multiple documents. So if I scanned in maybe 100 invoices, but I want to split it out and assign it to different people in different queues, we have an electronic splitter that allows you to do that. Now I'm going to simply drop it on an index file right here. And what it does is on the left, you'll see it opens up the subcontract that, the PDF that I have. And on the right, it opens up my indexing screen. Indexing is really simple. You do 2 things. Number 1, pick the document type that you want to save this as. And you can see right here, I've got all kinds of document types set up in my system. We have documents from accounting, human resources, estimating, safety, all over the company. So for this particular one, I'm going to pick subcontract, and I've got all of my indexes right here. So first one on the list is subcontract number. So this is how easy it is. I'm going to hit the F4 key, which is our lookup key. And it gives me a list of all the subcontracts commitments that I have. I'm currently hooked into a Sage 300 CRE database, but it does the same exact thing for Sage 100 Contractor. It lists all of your commitments that are out there. I'm going to pick one from the list by simply double-clicking. And you can see the system actually not only pulled back the subcontract number, but I have this particular document type set to backfill other information, such as the date of the subcontract, the description, what job it's on, what's the job name, who the vendor is, the code, and the name. And you can set up as many of these index values to be backfilled from your accounting database that you want. So I picked the number, looked it up, picked it from the list, it backfilled everything, and I simply click index. That document is now safely stored within our system on your network, and anyone who has security to actually search for and pull it up has that right to look it up. But that is how easy it was to actually store and index a document within the system. So secondly, we talked about retrieving. I have things in there. How do I go and get them out? So our search screen, we actually have 2 different ways of searching. You can see up here I have 2 tabs. We got search and browse. On the search screen, it gives us our traditional index-based filtering search engine right here. So 2 things. Number 1, pick the document type that you're looking for. If I want to, I have a category called all document types. So you can see right here, I'm signed in as an administrator, so I have access to every document type within the system. But with our security, you can see I've got categories for accounts payable, human resources, payroll, project management. The ones that show up in this list depend on your security. So if I'm a person who only has access to project management documents, maybe I only have access to certain project management documents, that's all that I would see. So you people who are thinking about possibly putting in your payroll or your HR or your really highly sensitive documents, with our security, they're out of sight, out of mind. Only the people who have security to those particular document types even see them in the list. So I come in here and I want to do a search, and let's say, for instance, I'm gonna check off all document types, and I'm gonna click the search button. So instantly I have all of the documents that are in the system here. You can see them listed. We've got a standard description. We've got the document type, index date, and who indexed it. And if I simply want to look at something, all I have to do is double click on it, brings it up in the browser. Very simple. So that was checking off all document types. So in particular, you're probably looking for something, a particular document type, and maybe for just a particular job. So I'm going to check off, I want to see all the document types for my job. Now I'm the project manager on job 03001. Now down below, in this second box down here, we have all of the index values that can be on all of our document types here. So I'm going to go to job number. I'm going to look up my job. And if I get the right keyboard, there we go. So I'm going to pick job 03001, or I can type that in. I click search, and now I only see the documents that have that particular job number on it. So you can see I've got some invoices, I've got job photos, I've got my RFIs, some submittals, contracts, that sort of thing. And once again, double click, there it is. So that's our traditional index-based searching. But let me show you a little bit, becoming more and more popular, especially with our project managers who are used to keeping documents maybe in their own folder system on your network. They're used to going to their, a particular folder. I have a folder for all my documents. Within that folder, I've got a folder for every job, and within that job, I've got individual folders for the different document types. And all I have to do is click on them. There it is. I don't have to pick my document, my index values or my document type. I just go to that folder. Well, we added a second feature here, our browse utility here. And basically what it allows you to do is set up kind of a folder view that does the searching for you. And you can set up various templates that can be set up by either a system administrator and shared to various users, or individual users can take a template, modify it themselves for their own use, and share it amongst their peers. But basically what it does is, you see, I've got 4 folders set up here on this particular template. I have one for accounts payable, one for project management, one for payroll, and one for human resources. So this is how it works. So if I want to see any project management document, I just click project management. There's every project management document that I have access to. Now, of course, you want to pare it down from there. So if I click the plus sign, you see I'm working on 2 jobs right now. So I've got job number 03001 right here. If I click on it, there are all the documents that belong to my job. And then if I want to, I can add additional nodes to this to say, look, I only want to see the invoices. I only want to see the RFIs. I only want to see the subcontracts. So it's very easy by simply clicking link right here. It automatically does the searching for me. On the accounts payable side, you see I can see all the accounts payable documents. Maybe I only want to see invoices. But you can get down and do things like, I only want to see the invoices in the last 90 days. Maybe only the ones in the last 60 days or the last 30 days. Very easy to set up this template. For instance, right here, let me just give you an example. Let's say I want to see everything in the last 15 days or something like that. All I have to do is right-click, say I want a new child, and I pick my index type. So I'm going to go to invoice date right here. And down here for a date, I could say either the last or the next, however many days, months, or years. So let's just say I want to see the last 10 days. So I'm going to type 10 right here, hit OK, and now I have that node in here. I click on it. I've got one invoice in the last 10 days. Very simple. I can save my template right here. I can name it whatever I want, but I can also share this template out with other users in the system. So just to recap, for retrieving documents, 2 easy ways. Picking documents and putting in our search criteria, or having a secondary template kind of view right here where we can set up our predefined searches and simply click, single click, and see our results. Okay. Now let's get into the meat of the matter here. Like I said before, most people come to us wanting to get started on the accounts payable side. So I'm going to show you our accounts payable AP Flow routing system. Within AP Flow, there's 2 different sides to it. Of course, you've got your accounts payable processor. That's the person who's in charge of gathering all the invoices, entering them in the system, and routing them around to the people for either coding and or approval. Then you've got the other side. You have the actual approvers and coders who have to look at the invoice, make sure that everything's correct, make sure the coding's correct, and actually give their approval for it. So for the AP processor, they would get a sidebar that looks like this. This is our AP Flow sidebar. And if you notice at the bottom down here where my mouse is, I've got 3 tabs. I've got an unprocessed tab that I'm on right now. And what that is I have a list right here in the grid of various documents that have been unprocessed. So I've got a bunch of invoices. I may have purchase orders. I may have other documents that I need to put into the system. But these are basically ones that are in my queue. It's the work that I have to do, and I need to actually enter it and route it to someone to get it out of my unprocessed queue. So to get started for an AP processor, they simply click the button down here that says Enter Invoice. You actually enter all of the data that you would for an invoice that you normally would do in, say, 300 or 100. You actually enter it into our system. The point of that is we want one touch or one point of data entry. Once it's fully approved and ready to be pushed into your accounting system, we will make sure that you've gathered every piece of data that you need. We'll run it through all the business rules that you have set up in your accounting system so that everything is totally correct by the time you actually push it into your accounts payable module. So you can see right here, I've got a header for the invoice here. I've got some a line section down below, just like you would any particular invoice. So I come here and pick my vendor. So let's say this is Ace Drywall. Put in my invoice number. Put in a description. I'm just going to say it's a test. I'm going to put in my invoice date. We've got shortcuts to like dates. So let's say this was on the 6th of this particular month. All I have to do is type in a 6, exit out of that particular date field. It'll automatically put the current month and current year with the 6th that I chose. Now we'll go through and we will make sure that we check what do they have set up for terms. So we'll automatically put in the due dates. If they have discount dates or anything like that, it'll put that in there for you. Let's say this is for $50, and then I go and I start putting my lines. I start coding it out. So let's say a new line. Depending on the modules that you have, you can pick what type of line you want to put in here. For instance, we've got GL or expense account lines, we've got job lines, equipment lines, purchase orders, subcontracts. If you have the real estate management module within Phase 300, you can post back to units with chargebacks and all of that sort of thing. But I'm going to go ahead and say this is a subcontract. So I'm going to click OK here. And the next thing is, since I picked subcontract, I have a link to pull up all the subcontracts that are open in the system right here. So you can see right here, for that particular vendor, Ace Drywall, I have 3 open contracts. I pick the contract that I want. And once I pick the contract, it'll show me all of the lines of that contract with all of the information. So I've got all my unit information, how much was actually ordered, how much has already been invoiced, how much is remaining, that sort of thing. This one's fully, let me pick another one because that one's fully invoiced. So I've got $9,300 remaining on this one right here. I'm going to say just put that line, add that to the invoice. And right there, it pulls everything in from the actual subcontract record within your accounting system and puts it there on the invoice line. So you see I've got the subcontract number, the line number. It's got all the coding that came back from the line. It automatically put in my gross amount. If I have any tax or anything like that on the job, it puts all that stuff on there. I'm going to take off the tax because I just want it to be an even $50 here. But also, we've got worksheets, these little buttons right here, for job budgets or PO or subcontract lines. You can actually get to a worksheet, and we will pull all the information that has to do with that particular commitment or job. We will show you what the amounts were for either the budget for that particular item. We'll show what has already been posted within your accounting system. And then we'll also show you throughout our system anything that's unapproved and hasn't been pushed into that system. So instantly you can see, for this particular one, my original commitment was $9,300. I have no change orders. Invoice to date is $50, which is this $50 one we have right here. So I have $92.50 left on this particular subcontract. Within the system, you have various controls you can put in where you can either warn and or stop people from posting things that would put you over your budget. So there's all types of settings you can set to catch that sort of thing before it actually gets put into the system. So I've got everything. I've got the header. I've got it fully allocated to my subcontract here. Next, I can click on Documents. What that does is it allows you to go out and actually select various documents to be sent along with these invoices. So, for instance, if you have receiving tickets or gray tickets, or you might have actually copies of the subcontract or the PO that you're charging against, it will try and automatically match what it can. So, for instance, if I had scanned in that particular subcontract in the system, it would actually attach it to this invoice because it knows the subcontract that I posted to. This is normally used for receiving tickets. So, any receiving ticket that belongs to that particular vendor that has not been attached to an invoice will be listed at the bottom. You'll be able to click on it and see a picture of it. And actually, if you find the one that belongs to that particular invoice, you simply highlight it in the list, click attach, and then it puts together just a binder of documents that go along the routing system. That way, anyone who has to go and look at the actual invoice can see all of the backup information along with it. I'm going to close this right here. So lastly, I put in the invoice information. I matched any documents that I wanted. And lastly, I'm going to click Route. So routing. There are two different ways to route. Number one, I can manually pick who I want to route it to. But more importantly, we can set up predefined route rules within the system that determines based on the invoice amount, the vendor, or the coding, how do we want to route this particular invoice around. We have multi-level routing. So you can have maybe level number 1 people. I've got 2 or 3 people that need to look at it first. And then once that particular level approves the invoice, it can go on to other levels above that. Now, for the routing rules, we could actually look up for Sage 300 CRE. On your job, do you have an approver code? You can actually tell it to look up that approver code, and you can map that approver code to particular reviewers in our system. That way, anytime something gets posted to that particular job, it can automatically get routed to that project manager or that approver without you having to set up any rules. All you have to do is have that approver code on your job within the system. In Sage 100, we'll look up the project manager. Once again, you can map the project manager's employee code in Sage 100 to a user in the system, and it will automatically route to them. But beyond that, you can set up multiple rules in our system. So I can route this based on the job. I can have another rule based on the invoice amount. So let's say it's the job 03001, it goes to 3 different people. But if it's over 25,000, it goes to the big boss. And that can be a separate rule. We'll walk through every rule that applies to this particular invoice and put all of the appropriate parties onto the routing based on their level. To break it down even further, if you need to, we do route by line. So if you get a particular invoice that has multiple lines, let's take a good example, like a fuel bill. The fuel bill may come in and you may have 200 lines on it. It's going to various departments, various people. You can actually have rules set up to where it will slice and dice that invoice up, and the people who get it will only get the lines that apply to them based on their department, their piece of equipment, their job, whatever. So out of that 100-line invoice, they may only get 3 lines. They're going to see what's appropriate for them. So I click Route. I don't have any predefined routing rules in here based on how I have it coded. So to do it manually, I can simply click Add Reviewer. I have a list of all my reviewers in the system, and let's say I want to send it to Bob Smith. So I'm going to click Bob right there. This is where I could pick the individual lines if I had multiple ones, but I only have one right here. I simply click Assign. So Bob is on sequence 0. Let's say I'm going to add another person. So I'm going to also send it to Tim, okay, and I'm going to put him in here. So it'll go to Bob and to Tim. I click Route. And now that particular invoice is now in Bob's inbox, and it's in Tim's inbox waiting for their approval. Now, as the processor, keep in mind, I was working on an invoice in my unprocessed queue here. So now I have a blank screen, and I'm actually on the next one in my list. So as an AP processor, just to recap, I'm going to go to unprocessed, click Enter Invoice, enter all the information, match up my documents, route it, and then I'm on to the next one. I keep doing that until basically my inbox or my unprocessed queue is finished. So I know I've done all the work. So let me flip real quickly over to, I have things out there routed, waiting for approval. My second tab down here for the AP processor is work in process. So when I click on that, basically this is a dashboard where I can see all of the invoices that I have entered and sent out in the system that have not been pushed into my accounting system. So I have a dashboard that shows me by status everything that I've entered in the system. So you can see right here, I've got 3 incomplete ones. These are ones that I started to route, but I needed more information and simply saved them in the system. I've got 6 that are pending. And if I open this up, we show it by status, then we show it by vendor. So you can see I've got actually 3 for Barth Electric. And once I click on that particular vendor's folder here, I can see all 3 of the different invoices. And as I click on that particular invoice, I'll see a copy of it on the left. Down below that, in this grid, I can see all of the reviewers and the lines that they have and what the status is. So we can see right here, this administrator person has line number 1, and it's pending. Bob's got line number 1, he's pending, and Seth's got it, and it's pending there. Down below that, if there are any notes on this particular invoice, they would show in this section right here. But the power of this is let's pretend that Barth Electric just called in and said, hey, Susie, I'm looking for a particular invoice, and I need to find out why it's not paid because I'm about to walk off the job. So she can come in here and look at it and say, okay, I found your particular invoice. I see that Bob Smith has it. Maybe he has a note in here. Not approved, invoice on hold, waiting on a lien waiver, or waiting on Barth Electric to fix the XYZ coupler somewhere. So instantly she should be able to at least know who has it. So if you don't have a routing system like that, hey, did I get the invoice? I don't know. I sent everything out. We FedExed them out. Bob might have it sitting on his desk. So the first reaction might be, Barth, send me another invoice and I'll see if I can route it around. So now I got 2 invoices out there. But here I can see who has it. I can see the status and I can see the notes. So hopefully I can answer the question. Based on the AP processor's security, they have ways of changing the status and sending this along this way to someone else. So if I had access to it, I could make it approved for Bob and send it on to Seth to get it approved so I could finally get this thing through the system. So different things we can do with that. So, but basically what I'm trying to say here is everything that's in the system, I can come to the dashboard and see what's out there. So let's quickly flip over to the approver side. I told you I sent some to Bob, sent some to Tim. Those guys, we have a notification system, first of all, that you can set up to send them an email. On the AP side, it basically sends out an email through your email system that gives them a summary. It says, Bob, you have 25 invoices outstanding, 10 are due this week, 5 are overdue, 6 have discount dates, so forth and so on. It gives them a synopsis on what they have in their inbox, but it's simply a reminder for them to actually log into the system and go approve their invoices. But it is live. They don't have to get the notification. As soon as that AP processor hits route, it is in there, ready for them to approve. So they would come into the system, click the, we call it P-Review for Paperless Review, and it brings up this screen here. Very simple screen. First of all, on the left-hand side, we've got some folders that basically sort the documents based on status and or job number. That way I could work it per job if I wanted to. But basically I have a list of the invoices here that I need to approve. So as I click on them, down here in the middle will show any notes that either the processor or other approvers or myself will put in on this particular invoice. And down below that it will list all the lines that I have to approve with the coding. So for this particular Barth Electric invoice, you can see it's coded to a subcontract, and I've got the line number. Me as the actual approver, if I have the proper security, which most people do, you actually have full access rights to the coding. So I can come here and I can actually look at the invoice. the subcontract, maybe it doesn't go on that particular line. Maybe I have other lines. Or if I'm on a particular, let me find a job. So this particular invoice is posted to a job. I can see all of my cost codes. Maybe it's on the wrong one. I can pick another cost code. Maybe there's a cost code that's not set up in the system. In Sage 300, you can actually enter cost codes on the fly, and it will ask, do you want to set this one up? So we have that capability within our system. It is exclusive to us. Other systems out there do not have the ability to write back cost codes directly into your job cost system. But on this particular one, I can pick my job, my cost code, my category. I can see my budget. So you can see right here, I budgeted $22,000. You can see I have no cost to date posted in Sage 300, but I have unapproved $5,000 worth of invoices floating around. So it shows me right here, I still got $16,000 left on that particular invoice. But I can check all of my coding there, and basically all you have to do is we've got some real simple buttons on the right-hand side right here. So if I want to actually view the invoice, I can click it. Of course, if I want to approve it, I can click approve. Once you click approve, we will walk through every line and make sure everything is coded. If something's missing, you're missing the category or the cost code or even the job, it'll stop them right there and give them instructions. Hey, line number 2 doesn't have a cost code. So it makes sure that they have everything filled out before it will actually approve it. We have a reject button. Reject button is to reject it back to the accounts payable processor that sent it to them along with notes. So let's say I want to cut this invoice or I need to change something on the invoice and I don't have access to that. I can click reject, put in notes to the processor, tell her, hey, cut this $10,000 invoice down to $5,000 because I'm waiting on XYZ. The AP processor, think back to the desktop that they had for work in process, one of the statuses is rejected. They would see that, open up the invoice, see the notes. They could then fix it and send it back to the approver with notes of, hey, I fixed it, go ahead and approve it. They can put things on hold and put notes of why they have it on hold, and they can take it off on hold here. Of course, you can add your own notes. We talked about that document binder. If I click on documents, it's actually going to go through and it's going to pull up those documents that got sent around with this particular invoice. The nice part about this is as the approver, if I have the invoices or other documents myself that I want to add to this invoice, maybe I have a receipt or something, I can add them right here on the screen too. Lastly, got some invoice information, so we show them what's in the accounting system for the vendor, who the other reviewers are, give them some information about the processor in case they need to contact someone. But lastly, we do have a route button. It allows the reviewer to add people to the route. So let's say I'm looking at this and I got a question for Bill. I can route it to Bill and say, Bill, look at the particular invoice and answer this particular question for me. So I can route it to him and it can come back to me. Or if it got routed to me and it's not mine, I can route it to someone else and take myself off of the route. Therefore, effectively, paperlessly sending this around to the right person. So real easily, I pick my invoice, I check the coding, make sure it's correct. I click approve. Once it's fully approved, it tells me, hey, it's successfully approved. Now it is either on to the other reviewers within the system for them to approve, or if I'm the only person or I'm the last person on the list, it is now ready to be pushed into the accounting system. So let me flip real quickly back over to the AP processor. The last tab down here on admin, we have an export tab. And basically what that does is, I'll open this up a little bit more. It gives us a list of everything that is fully approved. So I can click on it and look at the particular invoices, bring it up and make sure that everything's cool. But what we want to do is check off the invoices that we want to actually push into our accounts payable module. We click export and it is automatically pushed straight into the system, ready for you to, in Sage 300, it pushes into accounts payable module, and then it's ready to for you to do the post invoices task. In Sage 100, it automatically posts them into the tables for Sage 100. So a very easy system right here to post things straight into the system. The last part for accounts AP flow Let's move forward maybe 30, 45 days, how often you pay your checks. You run into the next issue that may come up is that I'm ready to pay my checks, but the signer of the checks always likes to see that backup. And then we used to have to actually gather all the invoices and the associated POs and receiving tickets, put them in a big old pile, and give them to Bill the President before he would sign that check. Well, now, we don't want to actually have to print all this stuff out. We're trying to be paperless and give it to them. So we came up with a paperless check review system. So that is this particular button here. And there are different ways to look at it. I can choose it if I go ahead and print my check and I actually want him to look at the check and sign it right there. We can look at it by check number range. But I think a more efficient manner is, you can actually go in and mark your invoices for payment. We can select all the invoices marked for payment. So right here, I have 2 invoices in my system, or 2 vendors in my system marked for payment. So Alpha Insulation has a check ready to go for $16,000. Now, while I'm on that particular record up here in this grid, down below, I show the information about the 3 invoices that make up that $16,000. So invoice 14928 is right here on the left. I can click on the next one in the list, and it shows it to me on the left. So I can click through all the various invoices and see them on the screen right here. But while I'm on these particular invoices, if there are any associated documents, when we did that attachment, if there was a copy of the subcontract or receiving ticket or whatever that went along with it, we'll list those also. So you can click on those and put them, see them on the left. Down below that, you can see the more important information. Who are my reviewers and when did they approve this invoice? And finally, at the bottom, I can get to all the notes that were put on that particular invoice. So you see real quickly, I can simply walk through all of my invoices, or all of my checks that are marked for payment, and I can see all the invoices without having to print anything out, and the reviewer can sit there, the check signer can sit there and say, okay, everything's good, or stop you in your tracks if he comes across an issue. Last but not least, reports. We have all kinds of accounts payable reports, lots of aging reports, lots of reports by job, reports by reviewer, reports by vendor, different ways to slice and dice it. Probably one of our most popular ones is the unapproved invoice aging by reviewer. If I pull that up, you can see it's got a nice little list. They're all written in crystal reports, so we have drill down capabilities. So you can see right here, Bob Smith has 3 invoices for a total of $25,000. I can simply double click on his name. I get down to the particular details of that. And from our screen right here, if I need to, I can up top, I can email it or route it to him through our document routing with notes going, hey, Bob, you need to make sure you get these things done. So I can simply send him an email if I want to, because he's ignoring the notifications we send him every day. So lots of reports here. We have lots of standard reports. We give you, if you actually know crystal reports, or if you want to, you can ask us to write some for yourselves. We give you import capabilities to where you can actually write your own crystal reports, point to it, and import it and add it to the system if you want to. So that is really everything that has to do with the accounts payable workflow. Last but not least, let me show you DocRoute. Much simpler system. Real quick, I can show you how that works, and then we'll part over to any individual questions you may have. So, DocRoute system, once again, route any type of document in the system or documents. You can have multiple documents go on the route at one time for collaboration or approval. So once again, I can come over here to my sample little documents here, and let's say I've got a vacation request form, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to drop it on route file. So first thing it asks me is, do I want to index this document in the system? I may or may not. If it's something that I do want to store in the system, I can say yes. It'll bring up the indexing screen. I'll pick my document type and I'll put in all my indexes and index it. Then it will bring up the routing slip that says, who do you want to route it to? But I may actually be sending this out. I don't know if it needs to be stored. It might be an article in the paper. I want one of my project managers to see. So I might have scanned it in. I just want him to look at it, and when he's finished, it throws it away. So you can say yes or no to actually index it. I'm going to say no right now. I'm going to let someone else handle indexing it. So then it brings up our routing flow. Very simple. It's almost like sending out an email. You got the subject, vacation, request, or that. You can put in notes. Hey, I want to go to the islands. If I can spell. Please. And then lastly, you pick your recipients. So when I go to recipients, I can pick individuals. I can pick one or more. You can have system-wide groups. So maybe you have a group called executive group, and you've got 4 or 5 people in it, and various levels and stuff like that. So you can have set up. Individuals can set up their own groups if they want to. But for this particular one, I'm going to send it to Barbara Thompson, who's our HR manager. And she's the one that gets vacation request forms. And I'm also going to send it to Tim, who is my boss. So I'm going to pick both of those people. I'm going to say, okay. I can put a due date if I need to on here. We do have sequence level routing. So I told you that Tim's my boss. So I need to send it to him first to get it approved. So I'm going to put him put a 1 here for him to send it first. Then I want Barbara to get it second, since she's the HR manager and the final person that needs to get it. So I'm going to put a 2 right there. Last but not least, if I wanted to, I can add other documents if I need to by simply clicking the plus sign and searching or finding other documents and adding it to it. And at the bottom, I click route. So now it has been routed to Tim and first, and when Tim releases it from his inbox, it'll go to Barbara. So let's see what the inbox for doc routing looks like. Very similar to just kind of a simple email box. You've got an inbox. So for instance, right here, I have no documents. I'm signing on as SPC administrator. But within accounts payable workflow, I failed to mention this. Accounts payable workflow and our doc routing system, we do have the ability to give people proxy rights to your inbox. So if you're an AP Flow reviewer and you're going on vacation, or you have an assistant that actually helps you, work through your invoices, you can give them proxy rights to your inbox, which allows them to get in, see your work, and then they can approve or push along invoices or documents. And but we keep track of it. We say it was approved by John on behalf of Bob, who is the main guy. But right here, you can see I actually have proxy rights to different people's doc route inbox. So I'm going to go and I'm going to open up Barbara's inbox. So she's got 3 documents here. Looks like they're all vacation request forms. I can see who sent it, what the subject is. I can see the document on the left. But basically, Barbara's going to look at it. She can add notes if she wants to. So she can come here and add some notes. And then she can forward it to other people if she needs to, or if it's finally approved and ready to go, she can click approve, and then it's done. So you can see right here, I've got 2 from the administrator, but I've got one in the middle. It says the sender's a routing rule, and basically what that is I set up a predefined routing rule that automatically routed to different people and finally to her for final approval. So in that scenario, you can set up routing rules that allows either administrative people or anybody within the company that every time they index that particular document type with whatever index criteria you set up, you can set up these routing rules so that it automatically gets to the people who need them. Now, to give you 2 great examples of what I've seen customers use this for, timesheets. Maybe timesheets come in from out in the field and you're not doing it electronically. So you've got the paper timesheets. They'll have administrative people up front index them by job number, and they have routing rules that will send them around to the particular project managers that need to approve them. But the final person in the route is the payroll person. So when they get it, they see the approval from all the managers that need to approve it. They're looking at the payroll timesheet. Then they can flip over to their second screen on the right and start entering that timesheet within the payroll module. Another thing I've seen it for is actually for purchase order routing. Things need to get routed around for approval before they can actually buy it. They'll put it in the system as a purchase order. Depending on how it's coded, it can be routed around to various people for approval, and the final person in the list is whoever enters the purchase order, a purchasing agent or an accountant in the accounts payable department to enter it into the system. So two great examples of the ways that you can use that system for automatic routing, but you can use it for any process that you may have. But once again, like real quickly I said, document routing, you've got a simple inbox. You've got your list here. You can route to other people. And finally, when you're done with it, approve it and send it along its way. It can be done manually or automatically. So, just to recap, the main function of this system is to secure all those documents that you have throughout your company securely in one place so that you have management capabilities over who has access rights to it. It also manages life cycles, so we can have automatic archiving once it gets at a particular age, and you have a purging system that where if you've got documents that are over 10 years and you're ready to finally get rid of them, you don't want them showing up in an audit anywhere, you can do all of that life cycle management within the system. But the main point is security of having them all in one place. On top of that, you've got two great workflows. One for accounts payable, invoice routing, and approval, which doing all that, push it into your accounting system. And finally, we have the doc route module to route invoices around, not invoices, any type of document around, either manually or automatically. So one last thing before I flip over for questions. We mentioned one of the ways that you can retrieve it is through the paperclip or the attachment function within your accounting system. So I've got a Sage 300 pulled up right here, but you can also do it through your Sage 100 screen. From within Sage Paperless, you can determine which screens you actually want links sent over to your accounting system. So right here, I'm going to go real quickly. I'm going to go to my inquiry screen, go to cost control, and look at my cost spreadsheet. Pull that up. I'm on job 03001. You can see I've got a paperclip right here. I'm going to look at it, and I see a link here. It says job 03001 SPC documents. One simple link. If I click open, it will actually open up our viewer screen right here, and it's got a list of every document that belongs to job 03001. So I've got invoices, I've got job photos, I might have subcontracts, RFIs, all kinds of things. I can configure which document types I want to see on this particular screen right here. But I was on a particular job, so it's very macro. I see every document for that job. As you can get down to a particular transaction, so if I'm on an invoice, I would see not only that invoice, but all those related documents that belong to that particular invoice. Or if I flip over to a vendor, I'm on the vendor master record, I can see every document that has to do with that particular vendor. So you get the idea. But we're constantly sending over these links to the system, but it's only one link per record. So if documents are being indexed to job 03001 during the day, all I have to do is come back here, and I'm still going to have the same link. When I click open, it will bring up what's out there at this point in time. We don't have to worry about it coming in here and putting 5,000 links in here, and I got to figure out which one I need to look at. All you need to look at is one, click open, and we give you the sorting and filtering capabilities on our screen. But it's everything that is actually stored within your Sage Paperless system. So, folks, that's really all I have for right now. Kind of showed you all the various parts of the system, and we can open it up now for any questions anyone may have.
Yeah, just as a reminder, if you do not see the Q&A window, go ahead and click on the icon in the top right-hand corner with a question mark in it, and that'll open up the Q&A window, and feel free to enter your questions there. And Seth, do you want to just go ahead and pick some of those questions to answer out of the Q&A session?
I need to, let me see if I can see the box, because I don't. Jim, tell me where that is again. Or just, why don't you pick them and read them to me and I'll...
Sure, that's fine. I can do that. No problem. Let me address, before we get started, as far as cost. I know there's probably going to be several questions about how much does it cost. To be honest with you, there are a lot of different configurations with Sage Paperless construction. It would be very difficult for us to give you a cost with this large of an audience. We've got several folks on here. I think over 100 people on here with different configurations. And I hate to give this answer, but it's really too difficult to do in a group of this size. So as far as cost goes, the best thing to do is to reach out to your customer account manager. We will definitely be following up with you folks just to make sure we have all your questions answered. But really this needs to, as far as pricing goes, it really needs to be taken a one-on-one conversation. So just let me address that one first. The first one question is, does AP capture the invoice data to avoid data entry?
It does not right now. We are coming out with an OCR program this summer, which you could use OCR to capture some of the data from your invoices. But right now you're actually entering it manually into the system.
Is there a list of file types that can be imported or dragged and dropped into Sage Paperless?
You can save any file type that's out there. The question is, can we see it in our viewer? All the common types, such as PDFs, TIFFs, JPEGs for photos, bitmaps, those Word documents, Excel files, all of those types of standard documents, you can actually see them in our viewer. If it's I can't even think of one. If there's some off-the-wall document type that you have a particular program that you can see it in, but it's not a standard, I would call it a standard document type, you can save it in our system, no problem. What it does is when you search for it and it brings it up in our screen, it brings it up as a link. And it says, this is an unsupported document. Click this link to open it up in the document, the program that is used to look at this particular document type. So I don't know if it's an XYZ file and you've got a program that opens XYZ files, you would simply click on the link and it would try to launch the XYZ program, whatever is associated with it on your PC. So to answer your question, you can save any document type here. I have been asked in the past by customers, do we save it in its native format? Yes. So your PDFs are still PDFs, your JPEGs are still JPEGs, your Word documents are Word documents.
Okay, next question is, how do you set up the routing rules?
For accounts payable, I'm assuming. So I'll tell you real quick the routing rule screen. So on my admin tab here, I have a routing rule section right here. And you see I've got different categories. So let's say I just want to set up one for a particular job. Real easily, I click the Add button here. On the left, I pick what rule type do I want. Do I want it by GL account, by vendor, credit card number, whatever. I want to set up one for my particular job. So I'm going to pick the job, and I've got all my lookups. So I'm hitting the wrong keyboard, sorry. I'm coming here and say, okay, I want to set this up for job 03004. And if I want to, I can set it up for the extra or the particular cost code. So maybe I only want it for this particular cost code. Once I set up my criteria for the rule, down below I pick who should be assigned to that particular routing rule. So let's say I want Seth Dawson and Bob Smith. I'm just going to move them over to the right here with this little arrow. And then I can set the sequence. And the sequence just means what level do they get to approve this. So if I wanted to go to Bob first, I could put in a sequence 1 and Seth is sequence 2, and it would go in that order. Bob would have to approve it, and Seth would have to approve it. But like I said, I could have 3 people at sequence 1 they would all get it at the same time, and then it would go into sequence 2. But very easy to set up the routing rules here. In addition, we do have a dollar amount rule. So if I click it as a dollar amount rule and say the minimum is $50,000, that just means that any invoice in the system that's $50,000 or up to the max, whatever you want to put in there, you can send that out as a particular dollar amount rule. But let's say I'm going back to that job. For this particular job and for that cost code, I can also, it's a job rule, but I can put a dollar amount min and max. So if I set this rule right here, what it means is any invoice line that's posted to this particular job and cost code, but is over $50,000, will go to this particular sequence. So you can mix and match. You can match dollar amount ranges to all of your rules up here. But sorry, I didn't say it. Come over here, pick my job, pick my people, say okay. My routing rule is set up. So as you can see right here, I've got several different rules here for different jobs. Okay.
Okay, we're kind of wrapping up here at the top of the hour. There's a few folks who've asked about how the licensing works. And really, to sum it up, do you need Sage 100 or Sage 300 loaded on your machine if you're an approver?
You have to, for Sage 300, we use the OWC driver to get back to the data. So for Sage 300 users, you do have to have it, at least the client, loaded on the system, because of that is what installs the OWC driver. Now they don't have to be a user in Sage 300, but they have to have the system set up on that particular machine so we can have access to the OWC driver. For Sage 100 users, you do not, because it uses a standard Fox Pro data OWC driver, and we can get to the database without it actually being installed. We install it when we install our client on your machine, so you do not have to for that particular situation.
Great. Thanks so much, Seth. I know there's a number of questions in here that we did not get to. We will definitely be following up. We can print out the list of questions that you have, and we will get back to you. Apologize. It's the top of the hour, and we need to end the session here. Thanks, Seth, so much for walking us through the Sage Paperless construction. A couple of other things before we end the session. We will be emailing out an email with a link to this recording so that you all can review it or forward it on to anyone else who needs to see the product. In that email, you can also reply. If you have a question or you'd like to have someone call you ASAP, you can reply to that email and we'll get right back to you. You can also contact your customer account manager or your Sage business partner if you have any questions. But also your Sage customer account manager will be calling everyone this week just to make sure that we get all of your questions answered. And if you do have questions about costs, we'd love to walk you through that. With that, thank you so much for attending today, and have a great day.